Hello, Christ is in our midst. I'm Father Kevin Long of St. Elias Antiochian Orthodox Church in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Today's Wednesday, March 18th, 2026, and here are the readings for today. A reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 9, verse 18 through chapter 10, verse 1. The sons of Noah who went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was peopled. Noah was the first tiller of the soil. He planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine, and became drunk, and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told this to his brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon their shoulders, and walked backwards, and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away. They did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah arose from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a slave of slaves shall he be to his brothers." He also said, "Blessed by the Lord my God shall be Shem. Let Canaan be his slave." God enlarged Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his slave. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. These are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood. A reading from the prophecy of Isaiah, chapter 26, verse 21 through chapter 27, verse 9. For behold, the Lord is coming forth out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity, and the earth will disclose the blood shed upon her, and no more cover her slain. In that day the Lord with his hard and great and strong sword will punish Leviathan the fleeing serpent, Leviathan the twisting serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea. In that day a pleasant vineyard, sing of it. I, the Lord, am its keeper. Every moment I water it. Lest anyone harm it, I guard it night and day. I have no wrath. Would that I had thorns and briars to battle. I would set out against them. I would burn them up together, or let them lay hold of my protection, and let them make peace with me, and let them make peace with me. In days to come Jacob shall take root, Israel shall blossom, and put forth shoots, and fill the whole world with fruit. Has he smitten them as he smote those who smote them? Or have they been slain as their slayers were slain? Measure, by exile, thou didst contend with them. He removed them with his fierce blast in the day of the east wind. Therefore, by this the guilt of Jacob will be expiated, and this will be full fruit of the removal of his sin, when he makes all the stones of the altars like chalk stones crushed to pieces. No asherim or incense altars will remain standing. A reading from the book of Proverbs, chapter 12, verse 23 through chapter 13, verse 9. A prudent man conceals his knowledge, but fools proclaim their folly. The hand of the diligent will rule, while the slothful will be put to forced labor. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word makes him glad. A righteous man turns away from evil, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. A slothful man will not catch his prey, but the diligent man will get precious wealth. In the path of righteousness is life, but the way of error leads to death. A wise son hears his father's instruction, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. From the fruit of his mouth a good man eats good, but the desire of the treacherous is for violence. He who guards his mouth preserves his life. He who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. A righteous man hates falsehood, but a wicked man acts shamefully and disgracefully. Righteousness guards him whose way is upright, but sin overthrows the wicked. One man pretends to be rich, yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great wealth. The ransom of a man's life is his wealth, but a poor man has no means of redemption. The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked will be put out. Genesis gives us today one of the most uncomfortable passages in the entire primeval history, and one of the most misread. Noah plants a vineyard. He drinks the wine. He becomes drunk and lies uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, as the Septuagint notes, as if already marking where this is going, sees his father's nakedness and tells his brothers outside. Shem and Japheth take a garment, walk in backward, and cover their father without looking at him. The text is spare, and the transgression is not entirely obvious to modern readers. But the fathers understood it immediately in the light of what nakedness has meant since Genesis 3. It is the sign of the fall, the condition of exposure and shame that the garments of skin were given to cover. When God clothed Adam and Eve, he was performing an act of mercy and restoration. When Shem and Japheth cover their father, walking backwards so as to not see what should not be seen, they are imitating that divine gesture, honoring what is vulnerable, protecting what the fall has exposed, refusing to make shame into a spectacle. Ham does the opposite. He sees and he tells. The fathers, especially St. John Chrysostom in his homilies on Genesis, read this not as a minor social infraction, but as a fundamental failure of love. To see another's weakness and broadcast it rather than cover it, in the tradition's understanding, is a participation in the logic of the fall itself. The logic that exposed rather than clothed, that accused rather than restored. Love covers all offenses, as we saw yesterday in the book of Proverbs, but Ham does not cover. He looks and he speaks, and the consequences follow with a weight that surprises us all until we understand what is actually at stake. Shem and Japheth receive blessing. Their backward walk, dignified, careful, protective, is one of the quietly heroic gestures in the entire Old Testament. Nobody talks about it much. It does not have the drama of the flood or the grandeur of the covenant. Two brothers walking backwards with a garment. And yet the tradition has always known that this is what love looks like in practice. The willingness to protect what is vulnerable, to refuse the easy pleasure of another's exposure, and to cover rather than display. Isaiah 26 and 27 move us into territory that is simultaneously cosmic and intimate, and the passage arrives today with the force of a great wind off the sea. Quote, "For behold, the Lord is coming out from his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity." Unquote. The divine movement here is downward, outward, into the world, not a passive waiting for human affairs to resolve themselves, but an active, purposeful descent into history. The earth will disclose the blood shed upon it. The covered things will be uncovered. Here again the theme of covering and disclosure, but reversed from the Noah story. What should have been seen and addressed was hidden and will be brought to light. Justice, ultimately, has a long memory. And then, extraordinarily, quote, "In that day the Lord, with his hard and great and strong sword, will punish Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, Leviathan, the twisting serpent. He will slay the dragon that is in the sea." Leviathan, the dragon, the ancient chaos monster, the serpent of the deep, the creature whose presence in the sea was understood as the embodiment of everything that resists divine order, divine love, divine life. The Holy Fathers understood this dragon as the same serpent of Eden, the power of death and the dissolution and chaos that entered into creation through the fall and has been at work in the world ever since. And here Isaiah says simply, God will kill it with his sword on that day. The church has always read this through the lens of Holy Saturday, the descent of Christ into Hades, the harrowing of death's domain, the cosmic serpent crushed under the feet of the one it thought it had consumed. The icon of the resurrection does not show an empty tomb. It shows Christ standing on the broken gates of Hades, pulling Adam and Eve up by their wrists, with the dragon shattered beneath him sometimes. Isaiah is painting that icon 7 centuries early. Quote, "In that day, a pleasant vineyard, sing of it," unquote. And then, with a tenderness that takes the breath away after the dragon and the sword, God speaks of his vineyard, saying, "I, the Lord, am its keeper. Every moment I water it, lest anyone punish it. I keep it night and day," unquote. The same God whose sword slays the dragon is the God who waters his vineyard every moment, who keeps watch night and day, who tends what he loves with a patience and attentiveness that no hired keeper could match. These are not two different aspects of God arranged for theological balance. They are the same love, fierce towards what it destroys and tender towards what is loved. Quote again, "In the days to come, Jacob shall take root. Israel shall blossom and put forth shoots and fill the whole world with fruit." Unquote. The stump we saw in Isaiah 11, the devastated Davidic kingdom, is here again, but now it is blossoming, filling the world with fruit. The whole arc of Isaiah's prophecy is moving towards this moment, this filling, this abundance that spreads outward from the holy mountain to the ends of the earth. We know, reading from inside the church, what that fruit looks like and who bore it. Proverbs continues its patient cataloging of the wise life, and today the images cluster around light. Quote, "The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked will be put out." Unquote. This is not metaphor decorated with moral sentiment. It is, in the Palamite tradition, almost a physical description. The righteous person, the one whose will has been aligned with God's will, whose love has been oriented toward God and neighbor, participates in the divine light, which does not originate in them but shines through them. St. Gregory Palamas would say that this is not a poetic description of virtue, but an actual account of what happens to a human being in the process of theosis. The light is real, it is uncreated, and it rejoices. It is glad, full of joy, which is the same word Isaiah used for wisdom, delighting in the children of man. Quote, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life." Unquote. The image of the tree of life, last seen in the Garden of Eden, whose fruit we were barred from after the fall, appears here in the middle of a wisdom saying about ordinary human longing and its fulfillment. This is characteristic of Proverbs' theological method. The eternal appears inside the domestic, the cosmic inside the personal. Every genuine desire fulfilled is, in its small way, a participation in the tree of life. Every hope that arrives after waiting carries in it an echo of the great hope that Isaiah is describing. The vineyard blossoming, the dragon slain, the tears wiped away. Again quoting, the righteous is a guide to his neighbor, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. The righteous person does not merely avoid harm. Their presence, their life, their oriented and luminous existence guides those around them. This is the social dimension of holiness that the tradition has always insisted upon. The sanctity is never merely private, never merely between the soul and God, but it always overflows into the community around it. Shem and Japheth walking backward. Saint Maria of Paris opening the door. The righteous person whose lamp, rather than being put out, illumines the way for the neighbor who is still looking for the road. 3 readings, and between them a single question. What do we do with what we see? Ham sees his father's nakedness, and he tells. Shem and Japheth see it and cover. Isaiah sees the dragon in the sea and the vineyard on the mountain, and the divine sword and the divine water, and he sings. Proverbs sees the light of the righteous in the lamp of the wicked, and simply, patiently, names what it observes. What we do with what we see shapes everything. The capacity to look at another's vulnerability and cover rather than expose, to look at the chaos in the world and to trust that the sword is already in motion. To look at deferred hope and not grow entirely heartsick. This is the practical content of faith. It's not a feeling, it's a way of seeing and a way of responding to what is seen. The 4th Wednesday of the Great Fast is not a dramatic day. The dragon has not yet been publicly slain. The vineyard does not yet visibly blossom. Noah is in his tent, and the world is imperfect, and the lamp of the righteous burns against the dark without fanfare. But the Lord is keeping the vineyard. Every moment he waters it, night and day he watches. The light of the righteous rejoices. It is, for now, enough to tend it. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Have a great day, and God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.